Okay, we're now live on Facebook. So good evening, IFG. Good evening, everyone. So tonight, we are blessed to have an addition to our team who can discuss about writing. So without further ado, let's welcome Sir Archelle Fale from sorry from he is a communication coach from Connexus AU and Google PH, Alibaba, Alpay, Ielts, or ESL mentor din po siya. So, here is Sir Archie. Sir Archie.
Thank you po, Ms. G, for the warm introduction. And Fale po pala. People usually mispronounce the last
Sorry.
name, which is Fale. So it's
Fale.
all right. Pinoy po tayo. Pinoy po tayo.
Okay. Sensya na po.
It's all right. It's all right. So anyway, good evening to our viewers po from the Philippines and from to anybody who is in the Asia Pacific region, and also good afternoon to the people in the Middle East. Welcome po sa live po natin. And another pleasant good morning po to the people who are in the Western Hemisphere, like if you are in Canada, if you are in the US. So my name is Archie, and I'm going to be, well, whether you like it or not, I'm going to be your writing coach for the day. So I was given two writings from you guys, one academic task one and one academic task two, which we will be looking at in just a short while, right? And we will go over those writings to identify possible improvements that we can do, as well as common mistakes that learners are committing when they are taking the IELTS test. So without further ado, right? First and foremost, we have to understand why we are taking IELTS. So I've had students who enroll or register in the IELTS courses without understanding why IELTS is required. So in cases like this, right, there are confusions as to why they need to learn how to write, why they need to learn how to speak, because according to them, they already know English, right? But we have to understand that IELTS is not an English course. It is not an English proficiency course where you will learn only about grammar, where you will learn only about tenses, so on and so forth, right? There are people who are very good in technical English, but who have some difficulties expressing their thoughts into words or into paper sometimes. Now, IELTS is all about communication. That's the first thing that you have to put into your minds. In IELTS Academic, the reason why we are required to write is not only to check whether you are good grammatically, whether you are good in your sentence construction, but also whether you are good in communicating with other people in a written platform. For example, if you are a student who would like to take higher education abroad or in a university where IELTS is required, they just want to make sure that when you make your reports, that it is understandable and it is coherent and it makes sense, of course. And the same thing is true when you are applying for work. You want to make sure that if you are given given written instructions, if you are sent a message by your supervisor or any of the stakeholders or your managers, or when you yourself are submitting a report or sending an email, that it can be understood. So that is that is the main reason why we require writing in IELTS. So before we start, we have 29 people in Facebook. So welcome to our live, right? So as a bit of a background about IELTS, before we push through with the actual lecture, another thing that most people overlook when they take IELTS is they don't even know how they are being scored. And this is going to be one of the things that we will be discussing today. So I believe that my screen is clear. Can you guys tell me if you can see my screen properly?
Yes, sir, we can.
Very good, very good. So here are the topics which we will be looking at today. Number one, we will understand what IELTS is, how the writing subtest is scored, specifically the academic writing. And then we will be talking about things to avoid when doing the writing subtest, also some of the best practices. And the most, how should I say this? The most important part, I think, would be the analysis and the examples of our, analysis of our task one and task two writings, as well as samples on how to write task one and task two. Now, I would be expecting that later, before we end the lecture, that you guys should be able to identify the differences between the samples that we received and the actual writings that you guys will see. So anyway, here we go. Okay, so first and foremost, let's look at what IELTS is. So IELTS is a testing system which is intended to assist you when you want to work, when you want to study, or to migrate to our country, where English is the primary language. It can include a number of countries, primarily Australia, Canada, the US, right? The UK, and of course, New Zealand. These are just some of the countries that require IELTS. Here in the Middle East, a trend has been ongoing that even universities require their enrollees to get at least a 5 band score in IELTS before they can proceed with their with their chosen courses. It means that at this point, English is being recognized as one of the major languages worldwide. And I think it is because of the fact that, wherever you go, like for in the Philippines, for example, even the ordinary people can somehow speak English, right? They can somehow communicate with anyone up to a certain degree, of course, up to a certain capacity. Now, as I mentioned earlier, right? There are learners who try to take IELTS without even knowing, right? Without even knowing which IELTS exam they will take. So as you guys are aware, and I do hope that you are aware that there are two types of IELTS tests. We have our general IELTS and our academic IELTS. In this case, you guys will be what do you call this? You guys will be learning how to do the academic writing subtest. So let's understand how the exam goes, right? So let's talk about task one first. Usually you are given 1 hour to complete the whole test. Task one will be, you will be given around 20 minutes to accomplish your first task. And your first task usually is going to be one of the following tests. It can either be a bar chart, a line graph, a table. Basically, it's going to be a visual representation, which you guys will analyze and which you guys will write about. Okay, so the most difficult part of this test is if we are not keen enough, if we are not observant enough to see differences in the information which is given to us, right? And if we are not really good in analyzing the data given to us, then there is the possibility that we'll be giving wrong information. And that will be evident later when we look at the example that we have for task one. Also, another challenge for test takers is if they are given a combination of different charts, graphs, and tables. Now, people say that it is difficult enough to just analyze one type of information, for example, a bar chart or a line graph, but to combine them makes things a bit more complicated than how it is supposed to be. So later we will look at how to address these concerns that you have. Okay, so in task one, what are you required to do? So it says that you must use your own words to describe, summarize, or explain the information which you are presented with. So you will be asked to either describe and explain numerical data, right? Or they will ask you to describe the stages of a process, especially let's say in a workflow. It can also be what do you call this? Described how to. You will be also asked to describe how something works in the event of a diagram of a machine, for example, how a dam works, for example. And if we are not really familiar with these areas, it can it can cause confusion to test takers. You have to understand that each of you have your own specializations and each of you have your weak areas as well. When I am talking about weak areas, I'm referring to those industries that you are not really familiar with. For example, males will be, males tend to get better scores if the writing is about mechanical engineering, automotive, right, carpentry, these kinds of areas. Where females tend to get higher scores when it comes to, let's say, sciences, right? Let's say handicrafts, hobbies. It's because that's inherently, these areas are inherent to them based on their gender. So these are the things that they usually do. Now, one way that we can address this is to try to learn or try to read and expand your knowledge about certain things. The problem is that people don't like to read. Nowadays, people don't like to read. And if you don't read, how can you learn something new? Well, people say that there are videos in YouTube, we have videos in Facebook, but are you even watching these videos intentionally? By watching or reading these videos and articles, you gain knowledge and you gain information that you previously didn't know. You are not required to be experts in these areas. Rather, we are trying to motivate you to expose yourselves to things that you are not comfortable with, that you are not familiar with, so that you somehow have an idea what to write about when you see a certain topic. The problem is that most people only read or watch the things that they are interested in. But if things are not really that appealing to them, they get bored easily. So I have noticed this whenever I send videos to my students about certain topics. I sent a video about dinosaurs one time, and when I did a knowledge check the following week, only around 30% of the students watched the actual video. So that is sad because we are sharing these materials for you guys to learn, not for us, but for you, right? Okay, and the last, one more is that you will be asked to describe an object or an event, right? So again, there will always be graphical information. There will always be data. The most important thing is that you know how to analyze, right? And that you know how to put your understanding into words. Okay. Now, just give me a quick minute while I pull something up. Okay, so the question here is, well, I have been writing and I have been trying to, have analyzed the information and I have written what I think should be written. Why am I still not getting a score above 5.5, right? So the question here is how to increase your score. So some of the things that I usually tell people is that you just don't analyze the chart. You don't just mention the numbers. It is a trick on how you identify the key features in the information. You don't have to include all of the numbers that you see. You don't have to include all the details that you see. Just include key features, as we call them. Okay. And by the way, people, if you have questions, you can raise your hands you can press on the hand raising icon in Zoom. And for our Facebook viewers, you can just post your questions here and I'll answer them for you. Okay, second would be, it is not enough that you just put your ideas into sentences or into a paragraph, right? Always support your ideas with data. numbers and dates if possible, because these numbers and dates put emphasis on the information that you are sharing. It is not enough to say that this factor has the highest number while this has the lowest. Put numbers and dates into them to give clarity on what you are trying to impart, right? And most importantly, avoid putting in information which is wrong. This happens if we are not good in analysis, right? Especially if we have a bar graph or a table, right? What do you call this? A line chart, because we don't know how to count, or we don't know how, not really, not, we don't know how to count, but rather we don't know how to identify which number or which value we have to put into into our writing. Also, since this is going to be based on graphical information, avoid putting your opinion in. It has to be based on the facts presented to you by the image that you are looking at. And one of the most common questions, how many words should I write? People think that if they write more, it's going to be good for them. Wrong. If your written communication is not that good, right? We suggest that you try to limit the number of words that you write. Usually 150 to 180 words is the best count. What we have noticed recently for learners who took the exam is that once they go over 200 words in task one, and it requires 150 words minimum only, right? If you go over 200 words, the scores are lower compared to those people who have written 160 to 180 words. And they are wondering why, because they felt like they have included everything, they have written well. But you have to remember, guys, that if your English communication is not good, the more that you write, the more errors there will be. That's what we are trying to avoid. Okay, so some of you here may have taken the IELTS test already. If not, then, well, you are going to learn a lot from this. Okay, so the next question that we have is, how is the, what do you call this, is how is the test graded, right? Or I mean, how are the writings graded? So technically, there are 4. Wait, why is it not showing? Just give me a minute, guys. It is not okay. Ms. Gladys, I think we may have a technical issue.
Yes, sir. What is that, sir?
Okay. Anyway, it's up now. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
It's up now. So what you are seeing in front of you are the criteria for scoring your task 1. So we have task achievement, we have coherence and cohesion, we have lexical resource or your vocabulary, and we have grammatical range and accuracy. Okay, each of these 4 are given 25% each. And well, when we talk about task achievement, we are looking at the information that you are putting into your writing, the accuracy of it, right? The value or the impact of the information to the reader, right? And also we have the overview. If your overview is accurate, if you are able to paint a clear picture of what you'll be writing about in your overview, detail or what do you call this, the key features that you have included, whether you have included only the important details or if there's too much detail that you have put in, and of course accuracy of information. Coherence and cohesion, on the other hand, talks about how easy is it to understand. That means how you organize your information, how you structure your writing. There are instances that we are talking about one area in our first paragraph, and then we talk about another area in the second paragraph. Suddenly you remember that you have something to add to your first paragraph, and you try to put that after the second paragraph. So you are going back and forth, which can cause confusion to the reader. One of the areas of IELTS that we have to remember is that it has to, of IELTS writing is clarity, right? That's why we have to make sure that it is organized properly. That's what we mean by coherence, right? And of course, paragraphing. What do you mean by paragraphing? Proper structuring, proper arrangement of your paragraphs to make sure that it is not difficult to understand. And linking verbs. What do you mean by linking verbs? How you link your sentences together, how you or where you decide to cut them, where you use proper punctuations, right? Because one of the issues that I've noticed, especially for us Filipino test takers, is that we are very fond of what we call fragmented sentences. We like to use and, we like to use but. And when this happens, right, we end up with a very long sentence with too many details in it that we don't even know which what do you call this which is the main topic. So try to know how when and how to use your linking verbs properly. And of course, we have our third criterion, which is your lexical resource or your vocabulary. So we are dealing with your, of course, your word choice, your spelling, and the frequency of errors. Another misconception of students when we talk about vocabulary is that they think that they are required to use very complicated words, very advanced words, or what we call high words, right? No, it is good if you understand or if you know how to use these words properly. But if you know for a fact that your vocabulary is not that high, it is always better to use simple words which convey the right meaning rather than use complicated words which can, somehow distort the meaning the message that you are trying to convey. So you are not there to impress your examiners. You are there to give a clear picture of what you have understood from the graphical data that you have been given. So your word choice is very, very important. Okay. And of course, we have our grammatical range and accuracy. When we talk about grammatical range and accuracy, we are looking at your sentence structure, your tenses, of course, and your grammar, and the number of errors that you have committed. Now, out of the four factors that we are considering when checking your writing, grammatical range and accuracy is the one where people get hit the most because it covers a lot of areas. Your sentence structure, for example, I have mentioned your fragmented sentences earlier. If your sentences are not written properly, if you are translating or transliterating, right, it can affect the meaning of the sentence. So not only do you get hit in your grammatical range and accuracy, but you get hit in your coherence and cohesion as well. The same thing is true when your tenses and your grammar are wrong. It can affect, of course, your, again, it can affect your coherence and cohesion. It can affect your, it can affect your accuracy, your detail and accuracy. And if you are not using the right words properly, then it can affect your coherence and cohesion, also your detail. So one error can can have a domino effect on the rest of your writing, which can result to a low score. And if you noticed in lexical resource and in grammatical range and accuracy, we have frequency of errors and number of errors, which means that the more that you commit these mistakes, the lower your scores are going to be, which means that it is compounded in the end. Parang utang yan, may interest. The more that you commit mistakes, the lower the score is going to be. Now, the next question of students is, well, in that case, how should we take, what should we do in preparation for the writing test in academic? So 5 simple steps, or 5 simple things that I usually suggest to my students would be, number 1, learn how to analyze. When you are doing an analysis, you don't just read. You understand what you are reading. you get the gist of the information that you are looking at. Remember that there will be no words. There can be legends of the information, but there will be no words to describe to you what you are looking at. You need to understand it for yourself. And that's what analysis is all about, looking at information and understanding it. Next would be to identify the main features of your of the information being given to you. It is a bit difficult for us. I mean, it is a bit difficult for some people to identify main features, especially if it is a combination of information, let's say a table and a pie chart, right? So that's when they have issues, because they get lost as to which are the main features and which are not. And they also ask, like, how do I know if I am writing too much detail on my articles or on my essay or on my task one? So later we will look at examples to clarify these things to you. Okay, next, write an introduction. Okay, so when we say introduction, people say that I always write an introduction. What do you mean write an introduction? An introduction is not just paraphrasing the question. It's not just copying the question or the title of the image given to you, because that's what some people are doing. They will look at the image, they will look at the title. They will copy the title or they will paraphrase the title. That's not going to give you any score at all, because those are not your words. Although you paraphrase them, but still it came from someone else. So make sure that you understand what you are looking at, so that you can make an introduction that grabs the attention of your readers, of course. And also make sure that you write an overview. The overview is not there to just open your writing. The overview is there to give the reader an idea or a picture of what he or she would be reading if he or she wants to continue reading your article. And of course, details. Don't forget to add the details. The problem with details is that sometimes we get overwhelmed, that we include every number that we see. We include every date that we see. And that can sometimes result to like a confusing article because of too many numbers in the writing, right? Too many dates. And it is difficult for the reader to understand it. I mean, to understand the writing because of the sheer volume of details that you have included. So learn which details you want to include, and make sure that you include only those details which will give your writing an impact. Okay. So people ask, like, for example, how many paragraphs should I write? It's not about the number of paragraphs, although yes, you will be affected in your paragraphing, right? 1 to 3 paragraphs, including your what do you call this, including your introduction, should be enough. Now, again, when you talk about writing, people usually focus on like the format of their writing. They should have an introduction, body 1, body 2, your conclusion. You have to understand, guys, that in task 1, you just need to make sure that you are able to analyze the information properly and explain the information so that it is not that hard to it is not that hard for your readers to understand what you are trying to say. Okay, just give me a quick minute. Just need to respond to someone. Okay. So there you go. Where were we? Okay. So later when I show you you will see what I am trying to to tell you once we look at the samples submitted to us. Okay, which now brings us to our next part. Okay, which is our writing task 2. Okay, now for some people, one of the problems that they encounter when they are doing the writing test is the time. They claim that they don't have enough time to finish the writing because they spent too much time in part 1. You have to remember, guys, that part 1 only takes 1/3 of your overall writing score. And task 2 takes the remaining 2/3 of it, which means that task 2 has more bearing, right? It doesn't matter if you get a 7 or an 8 in your task 1. If you get, let's say, a 4.5 or a 5 in your task 2, it will pull your scores down. So what I usually suggest is don't dwell on your task 1 too much, 20 minutes max, and then move on to your task 2. Now, another thing that you have to remember is that there are no right or wrong answers in task 2 because this is basically your opinion. So don't worry about what you have to write in there, right? The most important thing is that it is easy to understand and it makes sense, of course. Okay, so in task 2, they will be checking for your ability on the following. Number 1, present a solution to a problem. So problem and solution. For example, global warming, what is causing it? What are solutions that you can suggest, right? Another would be to present and justify an opinion. So you will be supporting another person's opinion. We also have compare and contrast evidence, opinions and implications. It can be 2 opinions that you would have to differentiate, right? It can be advantages or disadvantages, right? It can be whether you agree or disagree. It is in this part. And then we have evaluate and challenge ideas, evidence, or an argument. This is where they will ask you for your own opinion, whether you believe the opinion is true, whether you believe that the idea is beneficial or not. It depends on the task. And your answer will depend, the way that you structure your answer will tell us whether you were able to complete the task or no. So you might wonder, what task are we talking about here? Okay. So here are the criteria for task 2, for writing task 2. If you noticed, right, here earlier, we instead of task response, we have task achievement. But in task 2, we have task response instead, and the rest are the same. So let me just try to expound on this more. When we talk about task response, we are looking at the information that you are giving, right? How you start your arguments, how you present the information, how you develop your arguments, how you include detail to support your claims, and how accurate the information that you are giving is. If, for example, there are contradictions to the information that you are giving and how you develop your argument, then, and yes, it does happen. It does happen. People will try to write something, and when you look at how they develop their essay, you will notice that there are contradictions in it. And the same thing would be true in coherence and cohesion, how you organize, right, your paragraphs, how you structure your sentences, how you how you construct your sentences even, which is a bit of a challenge for some of us, because the way that we write is we usually think in our dialects or in our language, which is Filipino most of the time, and try to translate that into English as we write. That can affect the arrangement of words when you put it in writing, and later that will be very evident in the example that I will be sharing to you. Also, in our lexical resource, again, let me just emphasize on this, it's not about using high words, right? It's about using the right words for your intent. It's always better to use simple words, right? Which what do you call this? Which gives a clear meaning to your statements rather than using complicated words which can cause confusion to your readers. Although you have to remember also, guys, that, well, task 2 is an essay, right? Which means that it has to be in a formal writing format. And we have our grammatical range and accuracy for last. Okay, I think we are missing some slides here. I don't know where it went. Wait. Yeah, this one. So as I've said, right, all responses to the second task should be in formal style. You have to remember that you're writing an essay which will be read by examiners who are trained to spot whether your answers have been memorized, whether your answers have been prepared beforehand, which means that if they notice that, then you will most likely get a low score. Okay, so the question of some students is, how do I, what do you call this? How do I get a good score in writing task 2? Okay, now, 4 mistakes that test takers usually commit is they spend too much time in reading and analyzing the questions or the topics given to them, right? It is because of comprehension problems. If you have difficulties understanding the question, or even in task 1, if you have difficulties understanding the information given to you, you will definitely waste time in trying to figure out what you will be writing. I mean, what you should write. Second, they fail to recognize the type of question being asked. Instead of, let's say, for example, discuss 2 point of views, they try to give their own opinion, right? Because they don't fully understand the task given to them. And one of the worst things that can happen when you are writing is when you are giving examples, we get too caught up in the examples, especially if we know the topic, that we end up writing more about them. We veer off topic, so to speak, right? Rather than answering the actual tasks. In this case, you will be affected in your organization of information. And whenever you miss any of the tasks, you will be hit in your task response. So one mistake, a mistake in one of these areas can affect the rest of the criteria as well, which can compound again, and it will pile up and it will pile up until you get a low score, until you end up with a low score. Okay, so I have been speaking here for around, I think, 3/4 of an hour, or almost 3/4 of an hour. Before we move on to our examples, do you guys have any questions that you would like to ask? If you do have questions that you would like to ask of me, for people who are in Zoom, I invite you to join me here as a live guest so that we can hear the questions from you personally. And for people who are joining us in Facebook, please let me know of what your questions are so that we can respond to them as well. I'll give you some time. Anybody? Guys, this is, what do you call this? We are trying to share something to you. So it would be really appreciated if you have questions to give them to us. If we have none, then we can move on to our samples. Don't be shy, people. Okay. So if you have no questions, then I think we can move on to our analysis. Oh, wait. No questions from Facebook, yes, and no questions from Zoom as well. All right, so what we have here is an image of a landfill, as we call it, right, for household waste. Okay, so it says here that we have 3 stages, or rather, yeah, 3 stages. We have the construction stage, how to use it, and the closure stage. Now, based on the reading which was submitted to us, this is what we have. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I will try to zoom in. Okay. All right, so the reading says, the pictures illustrate the conventional way to build a household waste into a green area. The process includes 4 steps. The 2 first ones involve the construction. The third one shows the use, and the last one explains the closure. To start with the construction, okay, so this was the introduction. So we have the overview, right? We have the introduction, which, well, people seem to think that this is enough. But guys, look, we have errors in spelling. I think what the writer is trying to say here is that, I mean, the word that the writer is trying to use is conventional, not convectional, because, well, the word convectional, although it is an actual word, it will not fit in the statement. It will not, it just doesn't make sense, right? So if we correct this into, let's say, conventional, it will say that the picture illustrate the conventional way to build a household waste into a green area. We are not building waste, guys. We are building a landfill for household waste, right? So looking at the image, we are building a landfill, as we call it, right? Or a place where you can dump your trash, your daily household trash. But again, because maybe the writer is not familiar with what I mean, it's not familiar with the subject. She tried to the writer tried to understand it as much as she can, and this is how she interpreted it, right? This is her interpretation. Again, guys, you are not building household waste. Household waste is what we will put inside the landfill. Okay, and she said the process includes 4 steps. Okay. Actually, there are, it's not a step, I believe, but rather stages, right? So we have word choice. So stages 3, we have construction, usage, and closure. But when you say 4 steps, here, she said the 2 first ones, it should be the first 2 ones. This is what I meant by literally translating your words. Because if you think about this in Tagalog, it will sound like yung dalawang nauna, which is 2 first ones, compared to the first 2 ones, the first 2 images, right, involve the construction. Wouldn't it be better to say that construction, or the first stage, which is construction, involves the first 2 images, rather than writing it like this? Correct? Because it will be easier to understand. And she said the third one shows the use, and the last one explains the closure. Now, note the word one. It was used multiple times in one sentence. This can be interpreted as a filler. Even if you remove this, and this, The sentences can stand alone on their own. These are not needed. But in the Middle East, actually, people are very fond of using the word one. This one, that one, right? So I know my fellow RFWs can relate to this. But you have to remember, guys, that even if you remove these words, the sentences can still stand alone on their own, right? Moving forward with our with our, what do you call this? With our main paragraph, let me just erase these things. The writer said to start with the construction of the household waste right there and then. We have an error already. Again, you are not constructing household waste. You are constructing a landfill. Okay? So the writer said a considerably big hole is artificially dug in the landfill. The was written twice. Be careful of this. Right now, what do we mean by artificially dug? So this word right here is not needed. So we can see that although the writer tried to expand her number of words by supplementing unnecessary words in it, it affected the clarity of the message. What do you mean by artificially dug? Right? Does that mean that there is a naturally dug hole? Yeah, maybe there are, right? Especially if it is caused by, let's say, sinkholes. If it was caused by, let's say, acts of nature, then we can say that's a naturally dug hole. But when you say artificially dug, just for the sake of a landfill, I don't really think that makes sense. So she said, or the writer said, until reaching a natural rock layer. After that, the whole walls are covered with two thin layers. The first one, which is made of clay, is closely stuck to the whole walls, right? While the second one that is made of synthetic substance, we are missing an article A, of a synthetic substance is stuck to the lateral walls, but not to the bottom, which leaves a gap between the layers. Okay, now, I remember one time we had a speaker here who taught you about the word lateral. Okay, now if we are going to look at the image, let's try to zoom it in, right? So there are two layers here. One is clay. She said to the sides, right? She didn't mention the bottom at all. And then the synthetic substance to the lateral sides of the walls, but not the bottom. But what is this? If it did not reach the bottom, what is this part? So right here and then, we have what do you call this? We have wrong information which was included in our writing, but not to the bottom. It is clear that it reached the bottom actually. Although the gap that she mentioned is existing, right? Wait, let me erase this. Although she did mention a gap, where is it? Leaves a gap between the layers. Maybe instead of saying that it did not reach the bottom, she can say that maybe it reached the bottom but has a gap somewhere in the middle. That would have been clearer. Because if you read further in the essay, she mentioned that on the bottom of the hole, draining pipes are introduced along with the draining tank. Introduced, although the word introduced can be considered as correct, there would be better words to use. We can say draining pipes are installed, right, along with the draining tank. If you look at this, do we have a draining tank installed? No. She was referring, or the writer was referring to the gap that was made at the bottom. So this is the draining tank. Okay, now let's continue reading. The writer said that the gap previously built, so see, we have a problem with sentence construction. Instead of saying the gap previously built, which was, I think, translated from Tagalog again, like yung butas na nauna nang ginawa, right? So it is literal translations. I mean, it is a literal translation of a Tagalog statement. The writer could have said that the previously built gap, right, is intended to accumulate. Mhm. What do we mean when we use the word accumulate? Accumulate is to collect, right? But here, we are not using the word properly. So instead of using the word accumulate, you can say it's intended to collect the liquid drained through the draining tank. But what the writer failed to understand is that this gap is the draining tank. And the writer said at that point, the household waste is ready to be used. Actually, no. The mere fact that we have, that we have liquid draining through the draining tank, it only means that waste has been put inside the landfill already. So we are referring to the landfill being used, allowing to dump inside waste. And again, another literal translation. Paglagay sa loob ng dumi at tubig. So it should have been allowing to dump waste and liquid inside. And then we said progressively, the waste will consolidate generating gases. What do you mean by consolidate generating gases? And more amount of liquid that will be drained through the pipes. Will be drained through the pipes where? These pipes, right? These pipes are used. Remember, guys, if you put waste in it, look at the image. If you put waste in it, the waste will decay. So fluid will be collected into this drainage tank, which will result in the production of gases. And these gases will be collected by these drainage pipes and distributed to where they are needed. It can be converted into fuel, right? For heating. It can be converted into methane, for example, for burning of debris, because this is only a household construct. This is not an industrial construct. It's just for the use of a household, right? And the writer said, finally, the whole will be totally covered with the clay layer resulting in a terrain nearly unchanged. We have a lot of detail which were not arranged properly, which resulted to, a confusing explanation of the image. So the question is, how should we write this then? Wait, let me look for just give me a minute. I have prepared something for this. Where did it go? Just give me a quick minute, people. I lost my materials. Okay, so I stop the screen sharing. All right. Here is a model answer for this kind of an essay. Okay. try to read this. Can you guys read this? Is it clear?
Yes, sir. It
Okay.
is.
So try to read this writing compared to the first one that we just went through a while ago. So our first paragraph, if you notice, outlined the what do you call this? The construction and an explanation of what the components are and what they are for. The second would be the process, or yeah, the process that happens when we are using the landfill already, until such time that we have covered and we have the byproduct of the landfill. So it not only does it show us, it doesn't only tell us what the picture is showing, right, or the literal interpretation of what the the picture is showing us, but rather it also interprets, right, the purpose of the image. Now, this is only possible if you are familiar, if you know what a landfill is for. And as I've said, the only way to do that is to be familiar with different areas, which can only happen if you guys are fond of reading. Okay. All right. So next, I think you guys have read the paragraph already. Any questions? Or do we have any reactions? I didn't know that the IFNG crowd is this attentive. Well, once we talk about the overview, we have the overview here. Overview is here. Life cycle of a modern landfill used for disposal of household wastes. And it is talking about the three main stages in the life of a landfill: construction, the usage, and the closure. So this is going to be your overview. Hearts are well and good, people, but I really would prefer it if you guys can throw questions to us or throw questions at us. Okay, anyway, so I think we can now move on to our, what do you call this? To our task 2 sample. Again, an essay was submitted, and here it is. Okay, the task is to read and understand this, of course. It says, some people believe that it is good to share as much information as possible in the scientific world, business, and the academic world. Others believe that some information is too important or too valuable to be shared freely. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. Mhm. Okay, we have a question here from Ms. Beth Anilong, and she is asking about the word overall. Okay. Now, what do we mean by the word overall? It is a word that we use to indicate that we are talking about the entirety of what we are seeing, right? But guys, it is not a requirement, okay? It is not a requirement. I don't understand why they say that the word overall is required. It is not. As long as you can express your thoughts or your ideas by using other words, that's okay. Just a minute. Okay. All right, so guys, don't focus. The thing is this, right? A lot of us watch videos on YouTube, right? Watch videos in Facebook. The problem there is, it doesn't matter how many videos you watch. If you cannot get feedback or if you cannot ask questions from the mentors that you're watching, how will you know whether you are doing the right thing or not, right? Videos are there to guide you, but we have to remember that these videos, especially those which are in YouTube and in Facebook, were made, right, to what how do I say this, to tease you into learning more. And if you want to learn more, then you have to enroll to them. They will not really give you feedback. So if you have any confusion, if you want to ask more questions, you have to enroll or register to their programs. That's the gist of it. So whenever you get free lessons like this, feel free to ask questions. What I'm saying is that not everything that you see in YouTube or in Facebook is true. All right, because you guys will have a lot of questions, and they will not answer these questions. Right, these are recorded videos. So how can you ask questions from them? Whenever you send a question, they will tell you to go over to our page, go over to my page, and then somehow money will be involved. All right. So anyway, if let's say, for example, you are going to ask for help for maybe 1 or 2 sessions, that's fine. But if you are if you plan to take a lot of their time, then I think it is fair that you compensate them, of course, right? So whenever you get free lectures like this, you please try to take advantage of it. So this is a good thing that IFNG is doing, right? Helping our kababayans try to learn and getting in touch with the speakers from different parts of the globe with the different specialties to help you people. So take advantage of it. Okay. So going back to our topic, right? So the task is discuss both these views and give your opinion. Okay. So we have 2 views. We have to discuss them, and you give your opinion. First, what should we do when we are doing task 2 in writing, or the essay in writing? How do we write the essay, right? That is the first question. So 3 things, guys, you have to remember, right? You have to understand your topic words, your instruction words, and your other words. What do I mean by these 3? Okay. Number 1, of course, the topic word is, or your topic words would be what the subject is all about. So in this case, right, what are we talking about? Sharing of information. So these are our topic words. Okay. Now, what are our instruction words? What do you mean by instruction words? Instruction words would be your task. So in your task, what are we discussing? So if you look at our statement, let me just change the color of my pen, would be discuss both views and give own opinion. So these are your instructions. And we have, I also mentioned what I called your other keywords. Your other keywords are, what you should highlight when you are writing your essay. So in this case, let me change the color of my pen again into blue, right? You can say that some people believe, right, good, and then others believe too important or too valuable to be shared. Okay, by identifying these 3, actually, you can start to structure a sentence. You can start to structure your writing. So just give me a minute. I'm trying to double check something. Okay. Okay, so once you have identified these three, you can now start to make an outline of what you want to write. People say that, do I even have to write an outline? What most people do is they go straight towards answering or towards writing their essay. But without an outline, you will not be able to structure or organize your paragraphs properly, right? So what we do is we try to use bullet points for our keywords. For example, introduction, right? So for your introduction, how do you write your introduction? So I have tried to make a list of, make not a list rather, to make a format for each question type that I have that I have encountered, and also try to share this with my students, right? So in this case, when we talk about the introduction, we usually just try to paraphrase this. So we change this into our own words, and we think that that is enough. But one thing that you can add to this, paraphrasing is okay. It is actually recommended that you paraphrase the question. Your topic sentence is here. Your paraphrased statement is here. Just don't forget to include what we call an outline statement. Your outline statement will tell the reader what you will be writing or what you will be discussing in your essay. So if we look at this essay here, right? So it was paraphrased properly. The topic words are here. No limits to sharing information. And then keep some information that is deemed too valuable. So our, what do you call this? Our topic words are here. And then we have our outline statement. The ensuing paragraphs shall elaborate on both views and give a stand. So there, he told us what we are going to read about. So now we know that if we push through with reading this article or this essay, we will be looking at an explanation or maybe an elaboration, or let's say, of course, an expansion of these two ideas. And of course, his stand or his opinion or her opinion. Okay. And then he went to his body. On the one hand, and he talked about the good side of sharing information. He gave examples, right? He developed his argument. So I can say that this is a very solid presentation of the first article. Remember, this is not his opinion yet. It is just he's just expanding on the first idea. And he said, on the other hand, right? And he gave the negative side again of sharing information, especially for information which are too important to share. And he gave an example, right? And also he gave the end result of what can happen because of the first statement. All right. And at the end, he has his conclusion. And here he made his stand. Some people say that shouldn't we put our opinion in the beginning? That's okay. You can actually put your opinion in the in your opening or in your introduction. The problem is, once you do that, you will no longer have a solid base a solid base for your conclusion. If you look at this conclusion, right, in this paragraph where he made his stand and where he made his conclusion, it left an impact to the or it leaves an impact to the readers. This is my opinion, right? This is what I think. Compared to if you put your opinion in the beginning, then what will you write here? Nothing. A simple statement that says, I definitely agree. He was able to give his opinion. He was able to tell people where he stand. I mean, where he stands in these two viewpoints, right? And he was able to close with an impact. I went through this article. The word count was spot on, around 206 words or something, which is well, I mean, what do you call this? 290 words or something, which is still a bit higher compared to the word count that I usually prefer it at around 250 to 280, right? But 40 minutes, see, should be enough for you to analyze the question, make an outline, and write a coherent essay. If you notice, it is not too detailed, right? Although it has details in it, but the details are just enough to support the statements that he has written, which means it's not hard to understand. Nothing is misleading, right? And don't say that maybe they will not agree to what I'm saying. You don't have to worry about that. You don't even have to care about that. You are not there to agree with them. You are there to write what your task is asking you to. Okay, so another question is, how do I come up with ideas, right? How do I come up with, how do I make my outline? So usually we have techniques like brainstorming, right? Brainstorming would be, of course, racking your brain, thinking hard about the topic, right? Thinking what you can include and putting that in your outline. We also have what we call mind mapping, or of course, if your imagination is good, you can use a mind map to organize or structure your ideas. But that can only work if you have, well, knowledge and understanding of the topic. So again, it all boils down to to you guys developing your stock knowledge, as we call it. It doesn't matter how long you prepare for IELTS. It doesn't matter if you train for, let's say, a year or a couple of years. If you get hit with a topic that you have no idea about, then we are in trouble. That's why we always suggest to read. Not only read, but understand what you're reading. If you're watching videos, don't fall asleep watching them. Learn from them, right? And make sure that you retain some of what you've learned. You don't have to be experts. I'm going to repeat this. You don't have to be experts in all of these fields. You just need to be familiar with with whatever process you're watching or you're reading, with the industry or the field that you are learning about. And of course, you have to be familiar with the vocabulary that they are using. You have to understand that different industries, different fields, or different expertise have a vocabulary of their own. You can only easily understand the message being given to you if you understand the vocabulary that they are using. Okay. So at this point, that actually is the conclusion of my lecture for our academic writing in IELTS. Does anybody have any question? Okay. Since we don't, guys, we have time for some Q&A. Don't be shy. Mhm. Okay, it's all right, Miss Beth. Um, well, you guys submitted a lot. I mean, there were a lot of you submitted their writings, right? No, using an extra sheet will not lessen your score. No, that is not true. Again, just make sure that you don't write too much, because usually when you use an extra sheet, that means that you have that you're writing a lot. So again, the best word count would be around 250 to 280. If you write more than that, there will be a bigger chance that you will commit errors, and also that you might go off topic. Thank you very much, Sir Jed. Okay, going back to Miss Beth's question, right? Since there are a lot of you submitted the essay, and to be honest, I don't have the time to go over everyone's essay. The question is actually timely, because what we will do is we will have a bit of a game or a raffle conducted by IFNG, and we will be giving 3 slots to 3 lucky participants tonight, right? We will have a raffle for 3 people who will receive what do you call this? Who will receive free sessions with me for next week.
Yes,
Sir
sir. I think
LJ,
that's 1 week duration, right? One-on-one.
yes. Oh, I have a student here. Hello, good afternoon. And yes, Sir Jed again is here with us in Zoom. Paper-based or computer-based? Okay. All right. So again, let's look at the benefits and the disadvantages of doing either the paper-based test or the computer-based test. The main advantage of a computer-based test would be the word count. You don't have to worry about going low or exceeding, or going over the optimum word count that I am suggesting, right? The only problem with computer-based test is if your typing skills are a bit on the low side, then you will be committing a lot of typographical errors, which can which can have a drastic impact on your spelling, right? On your punctuations, on your construction. But if your problem is your penmanship when you are time pressured, then that only means that you can if you can manage your time properly, then you have a better chance in doing the paper-based test. And yes, a lot of people do like to do the computer-based test because they say that they are more efficient. They are more efficient in writing on paper compared to when they are doing compared to when they are doing it what do you call this on a computer. So again, look at your skills, look at where you think you will perform well, and that's where that will be the platform that you will take.
Come on, guys, don't be shy.
So regarding our raffle, by the way, again, as I mentioned earlier, it will be for 3 slots, 3 people who will get coaching from me for 1 week. So that's going to be like 3 sessions per person.
Yes, sir. And then we will be announcing the first 3 winners on Saturday. So we will be posting the mechanics, guys, tonight after this lecture, so that you'll know and you can tag your friends for you to be able to
Yes,
win
everyone who
stocks.
wants to join can join.
Yes. Come
My
on, guys.
students, by the way, my students, by the way, are guys. If you are my student in one of my classes, better that you get in touch with me personally. Let's give this chance. Let's give this opportunity here to people who are not who have no contact with me. Okay.
By the way, just to make things clear, guys, so Sir Archie will be mentoring you for 1 week, but it is only for writing. Okay, solely for writing. So speaking and other subtests, they are not included. Okay, so this is your chance.
Hello, Miss
Monday.
Beth. Miss Beth, where are you located? I mean, where are you currently located?
You may unmute yourself, Miss Beth, so that you can ask your questions directly. We don't mind.
The UAE is ahead of me by an hour. Okay, so I think okay, Miss Beth, in your case, if you can send a work, I mean one of your work, I mean one of your writings to me so that I can check it for you. My WhatsApp number is in
Sir
my page.
Archie, okay.
Yes,
I thought
ma'am.
you're going to announce it.
No, 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 no. No, no, no. I mean, my number is in the profile in the group, right? Is it for my
Yes.
WhatsApp? If you can, because you have a test on you have an exam on the 10th, right? So somehow I think I can make an exception for you.
Or Miss Beth, you can later I will post the mechanics so that you can join. So hopefully you can do it so that you'll be able to win one of the slots. We have 3 slots for you guys. So please take this opportunity.
Once the names are given to me, then I will schedule your sessions because I have to adjust depending on where you are.
Yes.
If you are in the Philippines, for example, I can give you a class in the evening because that would be too late. So I would be giving you a schedule maybe in the afternoon here in the Philippines. It will be early evening in the Philippines.
Okay.
Okay,
Come
so
on,
I
guys.
think
Your questions
Miss G,
coming. Okay. No questions? Okay.
I think we don't have questions. So anyway, guys, if ever that a question comes to mind after this, just send a message to Miss G, and she will be more than happy, or she will gladly forward that to me.
Yes. If you have a way to know your number. Miss Beth? Miss Beth?
Unfortunately, I cannot share it here.
Yes.
So it is in my profile though, in the IFNG page.
Miss Beth, you can send us a you can send us a message on our page or our GC rather, so that I can chat with you personally, and then I'll send Sir Archie's number to you. Okay. 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 I think there's no questions, sir.
Mhm. Well, in that case, I think it's time to end our session, guys. It has been a pleasure connecting with you, and hopefully we can connect well, we can connect more in the days to come.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
by
Sir
the way,
Archie.
Gladys, to Sir Marvin and to Sir Jeff for the opportunity.
Thank you, Sir Archie. We are looking forward for another session with you. So hopefully our members will be more participative on our
This
next session.
usually happens on the first day of class, so that's understandable.
Okay. So thank you very much. See you. See you, Sir Archie.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye,
God bless.
guys. Thank you.